The day I changed my Wi-Fi password, I accidentally destroyed the most powerful woman in my neighborhood. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I didn't even leave my house. But 20 minutes later, the police were standing in her driveway, and what they found there had nothing to do with me. It started simple enough. My internet had been crawling for weeks. I work from home full-time, so slow internet is not a minor annoyance. It is a direct threat to my job. So one evening, I finally opened my router settings to see what was going on. I checked the connected devices list. 12 devices were connected, none of them was mine. Brenda's iPad, Kevin's gaming PC, Smith family TV, the Johnson kids' PlayStation. 6 other devices I had never seen in my life. My private, monthly paid internet connection had become the entire neighborhood's free streaming service without anyone asking my permission. For who knows how long, I didn't knock on doors, I didn't send angry texts. I reset the router, created a new password that looked like a keyboard had a seizure, and went back to work. Simple, clean. Done, or so I thought, because what happened next shocked everyone. The next morning, I was deep in a work meeting when I heard it. Not a knock, not a doorbell. A full-on, aggressive pounding on my front door, like someone was trying to break it clean off the hinges. I peeked through the peephole and saw her, Karen, the self-appointed queen of our homeowners association. Her face was bright red. Her perfectly styled perm was practically vibrating with rage. She was standing on my porch with one manicured finger pointed directly at my door, like she was about to cast a spell to destroy me. I opened it, just a crack. "What did you do to the internet?" she screamed. "My grandkids can't watch anything. I have emails to send. You can't just shut off community Wi-Fi. Community Wi-Fi." That is what she called my private, personally paid internet connection, community Wi-Fi. I took a breath. I explained it calmly, my account, my name, my bill. "My password can be changed whenever I want." She puffed up like a balloon about to explode. "I am the HOA president. Your signal reaches my house. That means I am entitled to use it. You are hoarding a community resource." I showed her the bill. She dismissed it like trash. We went in circles for 10 minutes, her getting louder and me getting calmer, which was making her even angrier. And then she pulled out her phone. But that wasn't even the worst part. "That's it," she announced. "I'm calling the police. You are stealing community resources and disrupting the peace." I honestly thought she was bluffing. What adult calls 911 over a Wi-Fi password? I stood there with a calm face while she actually dialed the number. I heard her tell the operator there was a utility theft and public disturbance at my address. She gave them my house number. She spelled out my street name, and when she hung up, she looked at me with the smuggest smile I have ever seen. "They're on their way," she said. "We'll see who's right about this." 15 minutes later, 2 police cars pulled up with their lights on. Neighbors on both sides of the street stepped outside. I felt my face burn even though I had done nothing wrong. 2 officers walked up the driveway. Karen was already positioned and waiting for them like she had rehearsed this moment her entire life. "Officers, thank goodness," she said, her voice suddenly soft and wounded. "This man has maliciously cut off the neighborhood's internet. He is hoarding it and causing real hardship for the families on this street." Officer Miller looked at her, then at me, then back at her. Confusion was written all over his face. He asked for my side. I walked him through everything calmly. Private network, my bill, unauthorized users, changed the password. His partner, Officer Davis, turned to Karen. "Ma'am, do you pay for this internet service?" "Well, no," she sputtered, "but it has always been available. It is a community amenity." Officer Miller sighed the sigh of a man who had seen too much. "Ma'am, that is not how this works. Using someone else's Wi-Fi without permission is actually illegal. And calling 911 for this is a serious misuse of emergency services." He started giving her a firm lecture. I felt relief wash over me. It was over. She would get a warning, I would go back inside, and life would continue. But then Officer Davis noticed something. While his partner was talking, Officer Davis had been quietly scanning the area with the trained eye of someone who notices things that don't belong. He tilted his head slightly. Then he took a few slow steps toward the street. He crouched down near the base of Karen's fountain. He followed a thick black cable with his eyes. It ran from the fountain pump along the side of her house and didn't go inside. It ran straight into the city's public utility box on the street. Officer Davis stood up slowly. Ma'am, he said, cutting clean through Karen's ongoing speech. What is this cable connected to? Karen's face went from furious red to ghost white in one single second. Oh, that, she said, her voice suddenly very small. That's nothing, just some old garden wiring. My husband set that up years ago. The two officers walked over together to get a closer look. And it was exactly what it looked like. A homemade, illegal electrical hookup running directly from the city's power grid into Karen's private decorative fountain. Not a small connection. A thick, permanent, carefully hidden setup that had clearly been running for years. Powering her massive, energy-hungry fountain every single day, around the clock, at the city's expense. Officer Miller straightened up slowly. His entire demeanor shifted. The patient's cop explaining Wi-Fi rules was completely gone. Ma'am, he said, his voice flat and serious. You can't connect a private line directly to the city grid. This is going to require a full report and an investigation by the utility company. Karen started to crumble right there on her own driveway. She blamed her husband. She said she didn't know. She said she thought it was some kind of old approved setup. The officers weren't buying any of it. They photographed every inch of the connection. They took down her information. They told her to expect a visit from the utility company's investigation unit and that she was likely facing serious charges. And then Karen turned to me. Her eyes were wet. Her hands were shaking. Please, she whispered. Please tell them it's a misunderstanding. I'll get my own internet, I promise. I'll never bother you again, just please help me. She was begging me. The woman who had just called 911 on me for changing my own password was now standing in her driveway begging me for mercy. I looked at her for a long moment. Karen, I said, you called them. You wanted to see who was right. I went back inside. Officer Miller gave me a small nod on his way out. Sorry for the disturbance, sir. Have a good day. The next morning, a crew from the power company arrived at Karen's house and spent hours disconnecting the entire illegal setup and installing a proper meter she would now have to pay for herself. The fountain has been completely silent ever since. Word spread through the neighborhood within days. The HOA president who had terrorized this block for years, who had shown up screaming at my door over a password, had been stealing electricity from the city the whole time. The irony was so perfect that people could barely believe it was real. Karen stepped down as HOA president within the week. She no longer approaches me. She barely makes eye contact when we pass on the street. The woman who once ruled this neighborhood like her personal kingdom now moves through it like she is trying not to be seen. And my internet. Faster than it has ever been in my life. Karen wanted the police involved. She just never expected them to find something else entirely. Sometimes the people most eager to point fingers are the ones with the most to hide. She handed those officers the one thing they needed to expose her own arrogance. If this story gave you that deep, satisfying feeling of watching karma work in real time, hit that like button. Drop your own neighbor story in the comments because I know some of you have been waiting to tell it. And subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I will see you there.